1st January 2021, a momentous day in UK politics, formerly left the European Union, and a day where we've regained sovereignty, and what a fitting day to see this mural here before me. The unmistakable patriotism of some English nationalists making their way in an idyllic English setting, not to be outdone, however, by unicorns. By a mural with some unicorns there as well, just to balance out the imagery. Freedom, English nationalists riding triumphantly up a hill, of which there will be many hills, but also unicorns. Funny to see the unicorns there, but in all seriousness, it is an important day. It's a day that has brought with it some dramatic change. I would rather stay away from using some of the rhetoric that has been used in media about how we are leaving Europe. I certainly think that's unhelpful at this stage. I think there's a new partnership to be had, and one which we are going to have to try and capitalise on. Before I go into further depth, just behold the marvellousness of this spot. Despite having lived here for years and years and years, I never can quite get over just how beautiful, stunning this seaside area is. And if you know where it is, then you know. And if you don't, I highly recommend you try and work out whereabouts it is. Apologies for the cut there. I think people behind me were beginning to think I was looking a bit weird just chatting to the camera in that way. So I thought I'd get onto somewhere with a lot more space. But I do actually think there is a golden opportunity ahead of us now, and that is something which needs to be capitalised on by anyone that considers themselves to be in the sensible economics block, anyone that appreciates that the world is interconnected, and that sovereignty is best expressed when you're politically and economically powerful through having relationships with other economies that depend on the services you provide. And I think there's an opportunity for us to actually try and, I suppose, use the rhetoric of Brexit, of what the nationalists were talking about with regards to creating trade deals with countries outside of the EU, the third countries, Far East, Indian subcontinent, Southeast Asia, Africa, of course. There's an opportunity for us to use that kind of rhetoric and to actually achieve what was intended by these campaigners, but in a way that actually is achievable and doesn't just look like and doesn't smell like and doesn't act like nationalism that really isolates us from the rest of the world. So I think that there are three critical components to achieving this, which the centre ground, centre left, centre right, really needs to try and unify. And I think this is an opportunity for them to unify on that. The first area, of course, is to try and improve the arrangements that are not in place for the key services of the UK economy, key sectors of the UK economy, like services and financial services. This is something that the left, the centre ground, the centre right really needs to take full control of as we move into 2021, is the narrative and the actual actions that need to be taken in order for us to improve or get equivalence for a start, and try and stop the capital flight, which is inevitably already happening and is inevitably going to continue happening. I think that there's probably still going to be some intransigence among the right, of course, about doing this, and that's woven into an idea now which is very bizarre, but woven into ideas about even the City of London being part of some sort of metropolitan left-wing elite. Of course, being no doubt there is elitism among these areas, but among this sector, and it does perpetuate forms of elitism, but also it's a huge function of the economy, and to just completely write that off would be foolish. And so I think it's beholden now on the left, the centre ground, and every other person who would consider themselves to be sensible economists to try and take control of the narrative, take control of the action, take control of what the priorities need to be for the government when they continue their relationship building with Europe, and ensure that we can try and stem the capital flight that is already taking place. I think a second point that's absolutely critical is going to be the UK government, UK industry, UK policymakers, as being directed, as it were, by this new band of sensible economic thinkers to try and create trade deals using the new regulatory freedom and standard freedom that we have with third countries in a way that benefit the domestic industries like services, manufacturing, our leadership in wind power, leadership in commercialization of other energy technologies, floating wind, AMRs, advanced modular reactors, SMRs, small modular reactors, energy technologies like this, course data, developments in artificial intelligence. These are critical areas that the UK is leading in. And we need to now use, and we need to actually have a clear understanding. This is something that centre ground and sensible economic camps need now critically in order to swing the pendulum in the other direction and to take control of the nationalist, small-minded conservatives, more or less, that do control the narrative and do control the economy and the destiny of the country that we're currently on. In order for the centre ground to take control of this, they need to be able to demonstrate what ways our new regulatory and standards freedom can improve our relation, can be used best to benefit domestic industries. Because the issue is, correct me if I'm wrong, but I have yet to actually read any clear and substantive outline about what kind of trade deals we can make with other third countries. You hear a lot about, of course, them saying we have regulatory freedom, we have standards freedom now, and we can actually create these trade deals. But I haven't actually seen any substance on what that is, about what that could be. Any way in which our fintech companies can actually have a closer bond with countries in the Far East that outstrips what the EU can within its regulatory framework. I've yet to actually see any substance. And this is an opportunity for the sensible economic camp to really take control of that. And of course, a really important point next is going to be on levelling up the country. Taking a leaf out of no doubt, the government's book. The government has been very incessant. And I think that's positive, that's good. You can't be critical of everything that a government does. It's good that they're focusing on levelling up the country. It's good that they are talking about mobilising huge amounts, hundreds of billions of public sector investment to create demand in the economy and in the areas which actually generate job growth and economic growth and productivity. This is critical, but there's many opportunities for the left and the centre ground to take advantage of this and to take control of the narrative in a way which says we agree with this, we're all for levelling up, we want to turbocharge the levelling up agenda, but this is achieved through creating trade deals and some level of interconnection with European economies and of course with economies out in the third countries as well. There's absolutely no reason why an interconnection which creates almost an asymmetric interconnected relationship whereby we strive to have interconnection with our key sectors with economies that have sectors, their equivalent sectors, less matured than ours. This is in a way, although it's a bit of a dirty word and I don't mean to use the stigma attached to asymmetry, but an asymmetric relationship whereby the interdependence is more important for them, more important for other economies than it is for us. We're building up both economies, but this could be, this is an important area which the left and the centre ground, the sensible economic camp really need to start taking control of and illustrating how some level of interconnection is in fact good and pure unabridged sovereignty, where we have limited connection to many other countries in the world, really isn't going to be able to achieve any of the prosperous goals that have been talked about by Brexit. This is the opportunity for them to take control of that. And so I think the three key points there are about creating higher standards, getting the centre ground, the sensible economic camp to take control of the narrative and the actions around what kind of level of relationship we now need with our key sectors and how to achieve that with Europe. How we can actually substantively, with clear, demonstrable examples, use our new regulatory freedom in a way that improves our economy and that creates greater relationships with other countries, not at the expense of labour, environment and climate laws. And of course, actually taking control of the narrative around levelling up, taking control of the narrative around job growth, productivity growth, economic recovery, using demand in the economy as a way of stimulating a very Keynesian approach. The left and the centre ground need to retake control of this, but use it to demonstrate how this ties in with creating forms of asymmetric interdependence where the UK can lead among other countries, and can lead in certain areas whilst improving its relationship with Europe. And of course, this then has another key function, and this really what weaves it all together, is by creating these interconnections with other countries and accepting that as a way of improving the economy, one must actually reduce some level of unabridged sovereignty in order to pair itself more closely with another economy. If we do this effectively, and this is what the left and the sensible camp and the centre ground and the centre right need to take control of, if we're able to achieve this sensibly, not only do we improve the reliance of the positive reliance, one could say, of the UK economy for third sector countries and third sector needing the UK and its bustling sectors in key growth areas. Not only does this benefit the UK, our international standing, but of course then this also benefits the needs of the European Union to see the UK as a gateway. I've mentioned before, it's ironic that we're now using gateway language again. Of course, the UK was famously always the gateway to Europe. This is an opportunity for the UK to be a gateway to North America, to the Far East, to African economies, to South American economies, East Asian, Southeast Asian, of course, other parts of the Commonwealth. This is the opportunity for the UK to be that gateway to these economies for Europe, and vice versa, for third economies to be in Europe as well. This is going to require the sensible economic heads who aren't bound by foolish and petulant ideas of absolute sovereignty for nationalist ends. You can't have effective nationalism in a globalised world, especially post-COVID, where huge economic decisions and huge economic developments and where the future of economic prosperity is going to be, which is economic blocks. That is the reality. And the UK has left an economic block just at the worst time. But this is an opportunity for us to flex some level of independence, take control of the narrative, illustrate that the Conservatives and the idea of nationalism that they have been able to concoct and hoodwink much of the population over is not compatible, and will not deliver the kind of prosperity that's required or that's needed for this country, and that was promised as well. Only the sensible economic camp can do that, and this is now a golden opportunity for the sensible economists to take control of that narrative. And so I'll leave you with that. Have a great 2021, Happy New Year, and may we retake control of the narrative and highlight the shortcomings of conservatism.